Hello English 100 students. In this video, I'm going to walk through the rhetorical analysis essay assignment sheet and just give you some tips and make sure that you fully understand what you're being asked to do to complete this assignment. Remember that this assignment sheet will be the same for both the rough draft assignment and the final draft. So when you're working on your rough draft, you're going to want to read this same prompt. The difference is when you submit your rough draft, you only have to submit a partial rough draft or you can do a full. Either way, it needs to have the title page and the introduction paragraph, some body paragraphs that include citation of at least 2 of the 3 required sources, and it must include your references list. So submitting at least these parts when you're submitting your rough draft will give us an opportunity to give you lots of good feedback from the instructor, and so you know how to move forward and polish your essay really well for the final product. So let's just start by looking at the due date. So this is the final draft due date. So obviously you will need to consult with the modules on Canvas to know when you need to submit your rough draft. For this prompt, you're going to choose one of the pieces of media that you see here on the page. All of these are hyperlinked, so you can click the links and kind of review them a little bit, skim through them, and see which one interests you the most. My highest recommendation is that you pick the one that is most personally interesting to you, not the one that you think is the easiest or the one that you maybe already read, but pick something that really piques your interest, because it's going to be easier to write a 4-page essay about something that you genuinely think is interesting. So I recommend just like clicking on each of these and looking through them and seeing which one is most interesting to you. Then you're going to focus your analysis of whichever of the ones that you choose, only one. You're going to focus on conducting a rhetorical analysis of that piece of media. So, for instance, you're going to read or watch the piece that you've chosen and decide, who do you think the audience is? Who did they create this for? What's the purpose of this piece? So maybe try free writing and just looking at these questions here on this first bullet point and just do some free writing after you read it. What are they trying to motivate the viewer or the reader to think or feel or do? Just brainstorming around some of these questions can really help you get started on your analysis. Then decide what claims they're making, what's the author's position, examining how the author makes their claims. So do they use certain rhetorical strategies more than others? And when I say that, we're talking about those 3 that you've learned about in this course. So ethos, pathos, and logos. Maybe brainstorm about those, do some free writing, see if you can identify where these appeals are being used in the piece that you choose. Then you're going to determine which ones are most heavily emphasized, and you're going to start taking some notes on that so that you can support your claim through analysis of the piece and citation of where you see those things happening. Do you think it was successful? This is something you're going to want to include in your analysis. Ultimately, when we're analyzing something, we're also making a judgment about whether or not we think it was successful. So please do make sure that you state that in your analysis. Then you're going to make sure that before you start, you really have a thesis. So what piece are you discussing? How effective is it? And what's your position on the success and the use of the rhetorical analyses? So just making sure that you cite 3 sources will be also very important. So you already have one. You're going to cite the piece of media that you've chosen. And then you're going to choose a reputable source and a casual source. Now, when we say casual source, it doesn't mean that it's not reputable. It just means that it's more of an informal source, such as a web page or a blog, something like that. And you're also going to cite something that you find, say, on the library's website. So you're going to want to find an article or journal article or something like that, and then you're going to want to find something more casual. And you're going to cite those in support of your analysis. Now, how you choose to use those sources is up to you. So it might be something as simple as you're going to find another person's analysis of this piece and you're going to cite them and agree or disagree. But it could also be something like, you see a social issue that's being addressed and you want to talk a little bit more about that and then take a position on how successful the writer was. So you might cite not directly cite another analysis of that piece, but then cite something else that helps you understand the situation surrounding the piece. So you get to decide in your analysis what kind of sources you need, but you do need to make sure that you cite three: the piece of media, and then a reputable source, a reliable source, and a casual source. Okay, so if you scroll down to these are the learning outcomes, I'm not going to go over those directly, but you could review these to just see what we're trying to see if you can do by having you write this kind of analysis. This is going to be an important thing to think about. I want you to think about audience. So for this assignment, you're going to be writing to a reader who is a fellow scholar but is not in your class. So assume when you're writing this that your reader is not your instructor. It's not somebody who already knows why you're writing this, what you've been asked to do. They've already read all of these 4 pieces of media. Don't make those assumptions. Assume that you are the expert on this topic and your reader needs to know why you're writing and what you're going to be doing in that paper. So then you need to explain all of your concepts very thoroughly. We also want you to demonstrate your knowledge of the elements of rhetoric by analyzing that piece as though this is a scholarly audience, and assume that they're interested in knowing what kind of rhetorical pieces these are and what kind of modes they use. The format for this essay needs to be very formal. So you do need to use APA 7th edition style. You need to have a references list. So you're going to have at least 3 things listed on the references list, and you must cite those in your paper as well. A little word on AI. It wouldn't be appropriate to ask AI to help you analyze this piece because that would be actually abdicating your responsibility to learn how to do the rhetorical analysis yourself. So we don't want you to be doing that. So it wouldn't be ethical to apply AI in that way. You could, we want to know what you can do. So for this assignment, we're asking you not to rely on AI to help you with this analysis. You can use AI tools such as Grammarly or MS Editor or something like that to help you, like in the end, with your spelling and your grammar. Just be careful how much you rely on them to edit full sentences. Be sure that you're engaging with the suggestions that it gives you before you accept them. This next part of the assignment sheet is a rhetorical analysis step-by-step guide. This is just for your benefit. You do not have to check all these boxes and turn this in or in some way show us that you followed this exact path. What we're giving you is a path forward. So if you have trouble getting started, this checklist might really help you. It might help you to look at it at the end and make sure that you've done all the parts of the prompt. This is strictly for your benefit, but it is not required that you use this checklist. If you have questions about this assignment, obviously, that weren't addressed in this video, please do reach out to your instructor. You can also reach out to the Office of Student Writing and Learning and meet with a writing tutor if you're having trouble getting started or you would like someone to review your work before you submit it. There are links here to help you with how to create your APA references that must be on that references list and how to do APA formatting, which is required for this paper. Then I do encourage you to skim through the rubric just to see how you're being graded on this assignment. All of these points here will show you exactly what the instructor's looking for when they read your rhetorical analysis to see if you are accomplishing everything and you're demonstrating some understanding. This is the final rubric, so this will be applied to your final essay. This is not the rubric that will be applied to your rough draft. So please do look at the rough draft submission assignment and see how that's going to be graded. It is not going to be evaluated the same way that this is. So please do make sure that you look at that. This rubric is for the final draft. If you have any other questions about this assignment sheet that were not answered in this video, please reach out to your instructor.